Yes, y'all. Peace and blessings. Blessings and peace. This is Hope for Hip Hop, where we are bringing you hope through the message of hip hop and the hip hop gospel. Um, I want to introduce myself. My name is Miss Show King of Truth Media Global, and you are tuning in to my presentation of the Gospel of HipHop, the first instrument that is penned by KRS One for the Temple of Hip Hop. We will be reading starting at page 6. And this chapter is called A New Covenant. A New Covenant. I am a hip hop educator, and I am here to preserve, conserve, and share the gospel of hip hop, meaning hip hop culture. If you are not familiar with hip hop culture, hopefully this will clear it up for you, as I have decided on this medium to go ahead and present this in a new way. That new way being that we will go back to the roots of why hip hop was created. Hip hop was created for peace, love, unity, and safely having fun. If you do not know this, you will soon learn it as I present this hip hop gospel to the world. They said, if you want to know something, put it in a book, and they did. Hip hop at its finest, at its purest, panned through the whole, from the beginnings to the golden era, and written for the future of hip hop. So, if we shall get into this, again, I am reading from the Gospel of Hip Hop, the first instrument penned by KRS One. I believe it was published in 2009. Please do excuse me, as I do not have all of this memorized, as I will be looking down quite a bit. And look him up, KRS One, the Gospel of Hip Hop. A New Covenant. A New Covenant. In the end, the last days of others became the first days for us. All praise, glory, and worship be to God, the love that rescued us from oppression and ignorance. And to all future generations of hip hop, know this: it is the love, it is this love that has delivered this gospel to our people for our correction and survival. This gospel comes to us as the physical manifestation of God's grace and love for hip hop. I am but one of many who has saved by such love. I am but one of many who was saved by such love. In my time, which is your past, I am called teacher. I was present at the first time. I am the firstborn. I am from the age of Leo, and I have come to call our hip hop nation into existence. To all future generations of hip hop, I am the B-boy that destroys all negative circumstances every day spiritually. I am the MC who reaches above poverty skillfully. The divine word warrior, known in my time as the blast master. I am the graffiti writer who thinks and grows spiritually. I draw peace, love, unity, and joy. I am the DJ who delivers justice while cutting, mixing, scratching with life. I am the beatboxer whose body expresses art through sound. I play God's instrument. I am the fashion that uncovers the fear and shame hidden in oppressive nations. I am the language that loves and never gets understanding amongst grown-up educators. I am the utterance of my culture. I am known as knowledge reigning supreme. I build and destroy, heal and inspire with the right combination of words. I am the entrepreneur who presents expert negotiating that repeatedly escapes poverty's routine experiences, never exploiting unlimited resources. In my time, I am self-created and self-sustained. I am hip-hop. I am not just doing hip-hop. I am hip-hop. I am the watchman in the tower of hip-hop's inner city, urging my people to turn from sickness and wealth. I am the teacher, a witness to the activity of God within and around hip-hop. I was present at the beginning of this world age, August 11th, 3114 BC. And I was again present at the births and transformations of hip-hop since its artistic organization at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx, August 11th, 1973. I am a true witness to the divinity and cultural history of hip-hop. Hip-hop is my family. I am like the people I teach. I am like the people I am among. And I am not ashamed or afraid of my family. I am hip-hop. In my time, which is your past, I am called the conscience of hip-hop. I am the stepfather and legal guardian of hip-hop. This I confirm to those truth-seeking hip-hop scholars in my future. MCing is my craft, and I have mastered my craft. I am hip-hop, and in my time, I have mastered myself. To all my hustlers, thugs, gangsters trying to survive in these mean streets, this is your gospel. To all my gods, goddesses, revolutionaries, street scholars, conscious hip-hoppers, this is your heritage and birthright. This is the good news for you. All praise, glory, and worship be to God, the love that loved us first as hip-hop. God is real, and hip-hop is evidence of God's real existence and love. Hip-hop is God's response to our suffering, and this gospel celebrates that response and the personal character that caused such divine responses to occur. All praise, glory, and worship be to God, the love that topples whole kingdoms and sets up new civilizations from the debris of the unrepentant. We are humbled before God, the author of hip-hop. Other cultures and nations were created in other ways, but for other reasons, and have certain divine responsibilities that they must adhere to. Other cultures have a certain grace over communities, and we are not authorized or encouraged to demean or disrespect in any way the faith and or religious practices of others. But as for us, as for our group commonly known in the world as hip hop, this gospel acknowledges and celebrates the love that has saved our people from self-destruction. It is time to repent and grow up. Rapping about crime and murder may sound good amongst those who have never committed such acts. But for those of us who are real in the field, we send this message to our young people. You don't really want it. For with this first instrument, we remember God and how we were rescued by unseen forces more powerful than any government on earth. For when all seemed hopeless and oppression seemed permanent, and a caring, protective, nurturing, creative force independent of all the world's political, business, educational, and religious institutions swept through our hearts and homes, we were rescued from sickness, hatred, ignorance, and poverty with a behavior that we eventually began to call hip-hop. And we must never forget this. With this first instrument, written at the time of hip-hop's cultural beginnings, we remind our future generations of hip-hop to never forget the love that has saved us from self-destruction. Hip-hop has no other creator, no other savior, no other architect. Love alone takes credit for creation and further development of hip-hop, because before we even knew we were hip-hop, God, the love that saved us from corruption, had already ordained us as such and set us free in the world with power. What a great gift. What a great love. What a great God. But how soon did we forget? After we had eaten and were satisfied, how hungry we were just a moment ago. How quick did we forget our own strategies to our own success? We ate the fruit, but never replanted the seed. We drove the car far, but never looked at the gas tank meter. Know this: God's love, hip-hop, is like a car that many people found with a tank full of gas topped off and ready to go. A gift freely given to all who would hop in. Now that we have driven this car for over 30 years, through all kinds of terrain, the time has come to repair and replenish our beloved vehicle so that it may last another 30 years. However, now that everyone has gotten where they intended to go using the vehicle, there seems to be a little motivation toward the upkeep of the vehicle itself, the cause of everyone's good fortune. God's love, hip-hop, is like a banquet laid out before hungry people. Many people today are eating well, but they are not the chefs of their own meals. They eat because they don't really know where their food comes from, or even how it was prepared. They themselves were never truly hungry or homeless, or even had to prepare their own food for themselves. They just sat down and started eating at an already laid out table. Therefore, the life lessons learned from being hungry and homeless, which accompany the skills of the chef, are absent from the copied presentations of the imitator. And any success found during this state of ignorance is indeed short-lived. This is how many treat God in hip-hop. They seek the hand and not the face. They seek the luxury but not the culture. The food, but not the appetite. The house, but not the home. The medicine, but not the health. The bed, but not the rest. They would rather use God, hip-hop, than live God, hip-hop. But such are acts of desperation, and such behaviors are expected of a people who have been traumatized as we have been. Hip-hop saved us and made us not only rich, but important and well-respected worldwide. How then can we forget God, the love that protected us and raised us up? How can we forget about hip-hop, the craft that feeds us and gives us identity? However, in my time, your past, many have already forgotten the love of God. Desperate and impoverished and suddenly propelled to the top of the world's social circles, they marvel at the effects of their own artistic skills, caring little for the cause of such skills. They just want to eat. And because they know not what causes their good fortune, they have become frantic and greedy, content with being imitators of the original presenters of the saving force, hip-hop. Such an approach works fine for those who are not really serious about living hip-hop for real. Such an approach to hip-hop works fine if you are only participating in hip-hop to get out of poverty or make a name for yourself. This approach works if you got something else to do and or somewhere else to go. But for those of us, verse 30, in the first chapter, a new covenant states, but for those of us who live hip-hop and seek enlightenment through hip-hop, are seeking to raise a family while being an MC or DJ, etc. Those of us who are without purpose, as well as those of us who are burdened with purpose, we have no time to waste. At this very moment, while you read this gospel, you are being called out of the world again for your own protection and development. Will you answer the call this time? Will you answer the call this time? Repent, verse 31. God is closer to you than your own nose. Now is the time to take your hip-hop spiritual life more seriously. Now is the time to align your hip-hop identity with God's nature and not be distracted by the doubts and suspicions of others. Now is the time to align your hip-hop identity with God's nature and not be distracted by doubts and suspicions of others. Now is the time to declare, I am hip-hop, and begin living from that realization in God. Hip-hop is your birthright. Hip-hop is your birthright. It may not be anyone else's birthright, but it is indeed yours. And if you decide to throw away your birthright because of the doubts of others, it is only you that suffers, because they are maintaining their birthrights and cultures with faith while you destroy your heritage with doubt. Now is the time to actually become hip-hop, to actually be the nation that we know we are. Such a life, however, it is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. Many amongst us are just trying to use hip-hop's artistic elements to escape poverty. And when they have attained the money, power, and worldly respect of escaping poverty through hip hop, we don't see or hear from them anymore. They and their careers vanish. This is why today, the greatest moment for hip hop and hip hoppers. This is why today is the greatest moment for hip hop and hip hoppers. Now that the desperate part of our family has been fed, clothed, and sheltered, they are gone. Hip hop itself was never their focus. They just wanted to use hip hop to relive their own suffering, and once such suffering was dealt with, they, the desperate, went on to do acting and open businesses and basically live as the rest of the world does. But this was never the intention for hip hop or hip hoppers. This was never the intention for hip hop or hip hoppers. I am reading to you, if you're just tuning in, the Gospel of HipHop, the first instrument penned by our brother KRS One. It's called The First Instrument. Order it on Amazon for all scholars, all hip hop scholars, hip hoppers. Published by Powerhouse for the Temple of Hip Hop. I just read to you the first chapter, which is A New Covenant, beginning on page 6. I just read verse 1 through 33. I will continue on this journey. Hope y'all like them beats in the background as I take a sip of water. This is Miss Show King of Hope for Hip Hop, Hip Hop Education, Hip Hop Education Portals, mobile, stationary. I'm in your city. I'll come to your city. I'll be in your country. Just holla at us. Hope for Hip Hop. Yep, it's hope for hip hop. Yeah, it's hope for hip hop. Yeah, hope for hip hop. It's hope for hip hop. We in the building. Verse 34 of A New Covenant says, as we have observed now within our 36-year history, or my sense, her story, right? As I read it, I'm a her, so her story. 1973 to 2009, hip-hop was a saving force. If hip-hop didn't do anything else, what it actually did in real history is rescue the children of a scattered and impoverished people from certain death. Yes, hip-hop has inspired the development of breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language and street knowledge, street entrepreneurialism. But all of these elements basically did one thing. They saved us. Yep, they saved us. So now that we and the desperate part of our family have been satisfied, they, the desperate, are no longer in our way. We now have the liberty to explore the true meaning of our and purpose of hip hop, the love that freed us from oppression. Because the music industry has finally collapsed in my time. All praise, glory, and worship be to God, the love that freed us from exploitation and slavery. We are indeed happy, verse 36. We are indeed happy that the impoverished part of our family has eaten and has been clothed and sheltered. We pray for their continued security, but their ways are not our ways, and their results are not our results. They are indeed our family, but within family structure, we are the firstborns. We are the elder sisters and brothers. God expects more from us. We are hip hop's original cultural architects, its caretakers, its teachers. We are hip hop's janitors, cleansing and restoring hip hop for the next generation of hip hoppers. Know this: with every generation, hip hop gets dirty because of how it is used and in the world by that generation. Again, know this: with every generation, hip hop gets dirty because of how it is used in the world by that generation. Hip hop is then cleansed and restored for every generation by its janitors who work within the temple of hip hop. Therefore, if you love hip hop and appreciate all that hip hop has done for you so far, regardless of your artistic expression, take up your broom and mop and begin the cleanup of your culture. Let's clean it up. If you are not the desperate part of our family, prove it now by taking your hip hop life seriously. He says here, if you are not the desperate part of our family, prove it by taking your hip hop life seriously. Join in on the cleanup. Your reward shall be greater than anything the world can ever offer. Your reward shall be greater than anything the world can ever offer. This gospel is a strong disinfectant, which is poured onto the rags, clothing fashions, our brooms, dances, our air freshener, microphones, our mops, markers and spray cans, our scrub brushes, turntables, our buckets, culture. While cleaning, we make our own music with our own bodies. It doesn't matter what you may rap about. Now is your chance to become a serious participant in the preservation of the hip hop arts and sciences. In hip hop, verse 40. In hip hop, verse 40. In hip hop and within hip hop's real history, we have never been the desperate and impoverished part of our family. We were and still are the faithful, the humble, the loyal, and most of all, the grateful. And this is what happens, the seeing of the vision that God has for hip hop. 41. It is first our appreciation for God and for what God has done for us with hip hop that leads the grateful to start asking some real questions regarding hip hop. Questions regarding not hip hop, but the love that sent hip hop to us. I'm gonna read that over. Verse 41. It is our first, verse 41. It is first our appreciation for God and for what God has done for us with hip hop that leads the grateful to start asking some real questions regarding not hip hop, but the love that sent hip hop to us. For we can never posture like we are somehow better or more holy than others when God's actual grace is upon us now. We are humbled by God's obvious mercy. 42. It is first our respect for God and our acknowledgement that something was given to us that we did not work for nor even deserve, that leads us to explore the spiritual meaning and purpose of hip hop. It is our acknowledgement of the force that has saved us, that reveals to us the plan and purpose such a force has for us. Something happened to us over a 30-year period that resulted in our complete transformation and restoration. That's right. Something happened to us over the 30-year period that resulted in our complete transformation and restoration. Hip hop baffles the world today because of the traps that they set for us. I will read that again. Hip hop baffles the world today. Those who knew that we were trapped because of traps they set for us were amazed and baffled, not only when we didn't die, but when we rose up and took everything our oppressors of the 20th century had, including their children. 44. We, hip hop, belong to no political, religious, financial, or educational institution or group in the world. Yet, each of these institutions have used hip hop in their own desperateness to attract new followers to their causes. For a culture with no central home base, no financial backing, no religious affiliation, no political organization, not even a race or an ethnicity that it can call its own, this culture, hip hop, created out of the historical activities of America's inner cities, has risen up and has completely established itself in the minds of youth everywhere, and has completely sidestepped the entire world system and ways of achieving success and stability in the world. Such a culture is indeed beyond this world and its power structure. Such a culture reveals the activity of God, the love that rescued us. This is the beginning of hip hop, spiritual life. Not a lot of bells and whistles, not a lot of claims to divinity, just simply living a life that shows appreciation for the force that rescued us. It's about living a life of gratitude, which is expressed by asking the great rescuer, for what purpose did you save me? And how may I serve your interests, which are clearly in harmony with my own? Such a question is asked not in words, but in deeds. The way which you live is what actually shows God your level of appreciation for all that has been gracefully given to you. Appreciation for God's grace is shown in how you treat others. Such an appreciation causes righteousness. The opposite causes judgment. This gospel is not about the critique of other religions. This gospel is not about Moses, Abraham, King Solomon, King David, or Jesus. This is not about Krishna, the Buddha, or the Prophet Muhammad. This is not about earth worship or even Satanism or paganism. This is not even about atheism or some other philosophy. To each their own. We seriously respect them all and even see ourselves within all of these faiths and philosophies, all of them. However, I must say here that the only consistent minister, prophet, hip-hop has ever heard advocating its divine existence and authority is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who has repeatedly warned us and asked us, who are you? Who are you? You are the bearers of either the light or darkness. If you continue to make your people think that the way we act is right, you are an emissary of darkness. You are not a bearer of light. Again, you are an emissary of light, of darkness, and you are not a bearer of light. It's one thing to talk about the condition out of which we live and say we keeping it real. But hell, is that the way you want to continue to live? Is that the way you want to continue to live? And keep the reality of what the slave master and his children have placed our people in. Is that the reality that you want? Or do you want something better for yourself and better for your people? Well, how will you get something better if you don't raise their consciousness to aspire for something better? That's our job. The artist is the most important person. You are teachers. The people listen to you. They don't listen to their preachers. Preacher's day is done. Verse 49, what are we dealing with? What we are dealing with here is a new covenant. Verse 49, what we are dealing with here is a new covenant, a new vision, the birth of a new people. What we are dealing with here is the rediscovery of our ancient birthright, our original culture, which is our true religion. Okay, read that again. What we are dealing with here is the rediscovery of our ancient birthright, our original culture, which is our true religion. We have no time or authority to critique and judge the covenants God has made with others. We are concerned with how God is dealing with us today. If we can acknowledge the fact that hip-hop came to us as a saving force, we are then encouraged to ask for what purpose we are saved. Why did hip-hop happen? Not how did hip-hop happen, but why did hip-hop happen? Why did it happen? This has been Show King. I'm signing off. That's the Gospel of Hip-Hop, penned by KRS One, the first on the hashtag Ashe. Ashe, Ashe.